Hey, welcome back to week 8 of the Communicate Responsibly podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. There are 7 other weeks that preceded this, and there's some extra podcast videos, whatever these things are, that go along with those 7 weeks that I would encourage you to watch before this one. If you have watched those and you're all caught up and you're ready to go, let's jump in. So, I mentioned last week that I was going up to a 12-step men's retreat. I just got back today. If I look exhausted, older, and more bags under my eyes than usual, it's because we never sleep much up there. That's not why I go. I go there for the fellowship. I go there for the wisdom. I go there to learn from men uh, that are practicing not just effective communication, but practicing lives of humility and sobriety and all the things that I am attracted to and looking for. And this was an awesome weekend. So I mentioned some of these folks in my Men of Distinction um, podcast video that was a few weeks ago, if you haven't checked that out. And because this is a 12-step weekend, we go through all those 12 steps. There is a degree of anonymity about that. So I just use first names for some of these guys. But my unofficial agent, Steve, who I don't pay, was talking up the podcasts, and I got talking to some guys about this YouTube channel. They taught me some things about using YouTube that I can get into, and hopefully some of you guys are tuning in now too. And Steve, thank you. The check is in the mail as usual. Just put it on my tab. So on the way up there to the men's retreat, I turned on the radio in the car. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I am. And they had Jesse Jackson's celebration of life. The ceremony was going on. There were many speakers there. And I'm all tuned into communication, responsible communication. There were many calls to action that people had. I have it on my list this week to learn more about Jesse Jackson. I don't know a lot about him, even though he was very prevalent when I was growing up. I know he's been around and a major influence, not just on politics, but on civil rights and on spirituality and justice related issues. So I'm going to look at some Jesse Jackson stuff this week. But I think it was Bill Clinton was speaking, and he quoted William Wordsworth. And I heard it, and then I wrote it down in my little journal. I always have a journal going when I go up to my men's weekend because I like to write down bits and snippets of wisdom and good things I hear. So I'm paraphrasing, but he said this, it's a William Wordsworth quote, paraphrase, about Jesse Jackson. And it's the best part of a good person's life are those little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and love. The little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and love. And then Bill Clinton got into some stories that we never would have known about with Jesse Jackson, where uh, Bill Clinton or his family were going through tough times, and they would just get a call from Jesse out of the blue, and he would be like, "How you doing? Are you hanging in there? Is your head in the game? Can I pray with you?" And it wasn't just for Bill; it was for his wife, it was for his daughter Chelsea, and it just struck me that that's really part of what I'm trying to do here for myself. I want to do those little nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and love every day. And hopefully, you folks, that will be a goal for you as well. It really reminded me of my father. My father passed away in 1996, and he was like that. He had a heart full of kindness, he had a heart full of love, and he always did it with no expectation. that he would get anything in return. Um, and I can say that my mother is very much like that to this day. She is generous and kind to a fault. And it's just been wonderful to be raised by people like that. And it's a big part of my focus here. So that's where I'm at today. I'm really feeling good about the direction this has taken. I really got recharged from the weekend. And now my goal is to give you some real concrete ideas on what to do when you know you are triggered in a conversation with people. So the only way you're going to know if you're triggered is if you'd worked on that self-awareness. And that's what we've been talking about. This is the fourth week. The past 3 weeks were really about self-awareness, and another term we put in there, emotional intelligence. And that's going to be foundational skills that you'll need to repeat, right? Wash, rinse, repeat. And if you do those with intention continually, then you will get to the point where you are able to notice, okay, I am being triggered in this moment. So again, I really encourage you to go back and check yourself. How self-aware are you? And I'm the more I do it, the more self-aware I get. All right. Once you know something's happening, here are the steps. And then there's 5 of them. And I'm going to give you, after this, some very concrete examples of how those might play out. So, step 1, you feel the trigger, pause. This is a key in all responsible and effective communication. Be careful about responding, reacting really, too quickly. At least take one breath. And tell yourself internally, I don't have to react immediately to this. Step 2, name the emotion. Now, I've talked before about naming the emotion for yourself. What is the feeling that you are feeling? But now we're going to let you kind of interact. We're going to let you start playing with the other person now. So you take a moment, you pause, and then what emotion do you think you heard that person saying? And that's where you're going to name it. You're going to say, it sounds like you're frustrated, or you really seem concerned about this. When you throw a feeling or emotion in, it's a type of reflection, but it brings down defenses. And remember, that's what we want to do. Because as soon as we get discord or resistance in, we might as well just walk away. The conversation is not going to be effective, and the chances you're going to lose the responsibility of how you're communicating just shoot up. So you want to pause, and then once you've paused, then you're going to try to name the emotion that you're hearing from the other person. Reflection, these kind of go together. You'll see this in the examples I give, but you're going to reflect it too. So a reflection might be, so you're feeling like I haven't been listening to you, right? A reflection might be, so you're feeling like um, you aren't you aren't being heard, or you're being dismissed, or you're feeling like what you say doesn't matter. And again, if the other person probably isn't listening to this, and they probably won't be communicating in these ways. So you have to not steel yourself for it, like prepare yourself, but just be ready that you're the one who's changing the game, right? You're changing the interaction here. Take responsibility for that. So reflect what you heard, and then step 4, this is key, rather than you getting defensive or trying to explain yourself, get curious about what's going on. Instead of defending yourself, get curious. So, what made you feel that way? Can you give me some specifics? Would you mind? What part of what happened bothered you the most? Here's one. What would you prefer I do instead? And just recognizing all of those. What made you feel that way? What part bothered you the most? What would you prefer instead? I haven't said I'm going to do any of those. I'm just open to hearing. I'm curious about how this is impacting you. So that's the next step. And then the fifth one is responding thoughtfully in every type of counselor type effective communication I have heard in every group I've run and been a part of, using I statements comes up rather than you, because the I statement keeps the responsibility on you. So in these, you might want to say, I want to understand this better. And I also want to explain my perspective. So I'll get there, right? But I'm going to seek first to understand, then to be understood. Talked about that. It's a seven habit. Talked about that in past weeks. So I want to understand this better. I want to understand you better. And I also want to explain my perspective. That's step five. And I would write these down. You can listen to this again if you want. Step one is pause. Step two is try to name the emotion that you're hearing from the other person. Step three, and these might go together, step two and step three, reflect what you heard, right? And that might involve an emotion. Step four, make sure your brain is curious rather than defensive. Um, what's going on? Help me to understand where you're at. I'm curious about this. And then a responsible, kind of thoughtful thing using an I statement. All right. If this is sounding like gobbledygook right now, let's break it down a little bit further. And I just came up with a few different scenarios. I've mentioned politics, again, just because it's so heated right now and there's so much ineffective, irresponsible conversation going on around political views in our nation. So it comes up all the time. So you might hear, anyone who voted for name the candidate, name the person, they clearly doesn't care about the country, right? So a response that comes from a triggered place is something like, "Oh, you're being ridiculous. You're overreacting. You're completely brainwashed by the media, by all this fake news." We want to stay away from that. A responsible response that is more effective based on those steps I told you before is something like naming that emotion. So it sounds like you feel really strongly about where the country is heading, period, and see what they say. Go a little bit further, get curious about it. What issues matter to you the most right now? What are you most concerned with? And then you listen. This works better because it acknowledges emotion. Let's get out of right or wrong and let's get into feelings and talk about that. It avoids this type of combat. We are so stuck in I feel, and it's not even a feeling. I think this way, you think that way, and we're just not getting anywhere. Avoid the political combat, and you want to open up an understanding of where this person is at rather than debating with them. And if you're someone that enjoys debate, this might be difficult for you. Um, for me, it's not. I don't enjoy debate. So for me, I would much rather understand. And I'll get, again, seek first to understand. I'll get to my beliefs. Let me give you another scenario. And this is one that comes up a lot. That's why I used it in relationships and the era of technology. You're always on your phone. You don't care about me. You don't care about this relationship. That's the trigger statement. Now, a reaction to that might be someone saying, that is so not true. I work all day. Now I come home and you're attacking me because I'm on the phone. Right? That is the reactive response. A responsible communication, and this is someone telling you you're always on the phone, rather than having that reactive response, say something like, it sounds like you're feeling disconnected from me. It sounds like you're feeling not paid attention to. It sounds like you're feeling maybe unheard. but I think disconnected's a little bit better. And the person may say, yeah, I'm feeling disconnected. I mean, it could go 100 different ways. So now follow up with some curiosity. What would help you to feel more connected when I come home? I'm not saying I'm going to do anything. What would help you feel more connected right now? We're not at the I statement right now because I'm still seeking first to understand, then be understood, right? So this works because again, we got a emotion in there, disconnected. It shifts from just accusation. How dare you get on me? I work all day. You haven't been working, you whatever, and we're just going to escalate from there. What would help you feel more connected right now is going to open up that discussion and understanding to something you may be able to do. Okay. Let me give you a couple more. We're going to get into, in a few weeks, I have it all on my board up there, the workplace, just the workplace communication. But here's one that might come up for you all the time. And again, the statement is being made to you. Boy, this report really missed the mark. Your work is really just, it's not happening here. So your response might be something like, well, nobody's telling me what to do. Nobody's giving me clear instructions, right? The defensive, normal reaction to that. Effective and responsible communication would be something more like, I want to make sure I understand what parts of my report didn't land the way you expected. What parts of my report do you think missed the mark? What exactly are the things with my work that you're saying aren't up to snuff? Seek first to understand, right? And then, regardless of what they say, follow up with curiosity. And this, we're still on the you statements here. What would a stronger version of this report look like to you? What would getting the job done in a way that you think makes me a better worker look like to you? I'm gathering information, folks. I'm hitting the ball back over in their court, and I have to be open-minded to listen to that. Not to argue, not to defend myself, but just to listen to it. So I'm moving from a place of being defensive, which bosses and supervisors are they're used to, right? To I want to be involved in improvement. I want to understand where you're coming from. And it also, especially at work, it shows a professionalism. Getting to a place, this will be down the road in a few weeks, where you're able to have your work life and your home life, and you're not taking the stuff at work so personally is going to be key to a lot of this. And I know why we take things personally at work because we spend so much time at work. It's so much a part of what we have made, we have incorporated into our lives. All right, here's a couple more. For you parents out there, right? So this might be a trigger statement that a teenager says to you, or it might even be younger than a teenager. You don't understand anything about my life, boomer or Generation X or wherever you're from. You just don't understand. You just don't get it. You don't understand anything about my life. Now, a parent, the triggered response might be like, you stop being ridiculous. I've sacrificed everything for you. You don't know what problems are. You don't know what I've been through. Rather than that, because I think you can see we're in a power differential. There's one at work too. There isn't a lot of communication, but with parenting, there's definitely a power differential. Rather than that, try this. It sounds like you're feeling pretty misunderstood right now, right? Or words to that effect. You're reflecting back what you're hearing and you're putting the feeling in there. Stay curious. Help me understand what I'm missing. Help me understand what I'm not understanding. However you want to say that, but it's still the you, The other person is explaining something to you and you're gathering information. Keep saying this every time. Seek first to understand. We'll get to how you feel and what you got to say. You're probably not going to forget that. But let's make sure you're understanding where the other person comes from. So much of this that I'm telling you right now is seven habits based. There's some motivational interviewing here too, but it is that seek first to understand that we're talking about. It's going to help to de-escalate, especially in teenagers or kids, that emotion, right? And probably because they are speaking truth to power to their family, to their guardian, to their parent, to have someone actually not say, come back, you'll do it because I said so, switches up the game, shows some kind of letting down your power. Like, we know you got the bomb and you're not afraid to use it, dad or mom, but let's not go there yet. And it builds the relationship in terms of wanting to understand. It also models for your child effective and responsible communication and emotional intelligence. And as a parent, I would hope that's what you want. Okay, here's another one. I just put this one in. I won't say for fun, but just personal criticism. I have asked people listening to this, please let me know. Give me some constructive criticism. What can I do better? What do you like? What do you not like? Some people have told me, some people just given me thumbs up. You're doing great. So let's just say that someone said to me, yeah, your podcast, it feels kind of preachy. Um, My first response might be, well, you don't have to listen, right? There's a money back guarantee on my podcast because you're not paying anything, right? So that might be my triggered response. That's not very effective or responsible. A better thing would be, and again, I might really want to know this. That's really interesting feedback. What parts felt that way to you? What words did I say? Tell me parts, because I don't want to be preachy. I definitely don't want to be preachy. And then continuing that curiosity, what would make it more conversational? I really would like to I'd like to have the live audience out there right now and see hands going up and talk to you folks. So what would make it more conversational? And this weekend up on the hill with my sober men, they taught me some things about YouTube that I'm looking forward to learning. So same stuff I've talked about. It takes that criticism. I'm recalculating criticism into feedback that I'm getting. And it keeps my ego in check. Being humble is so much a part of responsible, effective communication. And we'll be talking about that all this whole year, folks, as we go forward. It's really important. So hopefully those make sense. This is just gives you some ideas of what might happen. Remember the five trigger response method. And the ones I gave you, we didn't go through all five. These are sometimes like mixed in and you can use them together. Pause is the first one. Name the emotion that you hear from the person. Reflect what you've heard from the person. Sounds like whatever, fill in the blank, are feeling this way, or are having this reaction, whatever it is. Stay curious about where this person is coming from. And then you will get to, in a response, after you've listened and gathered information and you feel like, I think I understand where they're coming from, you will understand with the I statement. You'll get into that, right? I really want to understand. I want to thank you. Don't forget that. I want to thank you for bringing this up. Would it be okay if I gave you my perspective? Try to put your perspective last. Just stay on this fact-finding mission. So here's a couple other things, phrases that might work for you if this still is sounding like, yeah, okay, I don't know if I have words for that. Help me understand is one I use a lot. Help me to understand, please. And I would appreciate it. And that's why I'm going to thank you after you do. Tell me more about that. That's a great open-ended question and reflection. It sounds like you're, and then fill in the blank. Because people can either say, yeah, you get it, or they can say, no, it's not that, it's the other thing. That's really helpful to clarify where the person is at and how you're interpreting it. I want to respond to what you're saying thoughtfully. So I'd like to ask you some more questions if that's okay. No, just tell me what you think, tell me what you feel, tell me what I should do. Well, I really want to understand and respond to you thoughtfully. So wait, right? Slowing things down, folks, is so important in this. And we live in a society that wants what they want and they want it right now. So this is going to take some adjustment, not just for you, but for the person you're in conversation with. In my experience, they appreciate that you're taking the time. I think it's one of the most valuable things you can give to someone is your time. And the last thing you may want to say, all based on what I just said, is can we slow down for just a second? If it feels like it's going fast and it's maybe escalating a bit to just, I paused at the beginning. Now I'm going to ask the person I'm in conversation with to pause with me. Can we just can we just slow down for a minute? And when we do, I'm going to take a breath and then I'm probably going to reflect or summarize some things I've said and throw out some of those emotions. I'm going to go back and start those 5 steps over again. Okay. I invite you, encourage you, certainly don't insist because you have autonomy to do whatever you want. Plug some of these in the next week and see how they go. If you want to get in touch with me, I don't know how to put a PDF on YouTube, but maybe just writing these things down. I'm old school. I got my notebook here, but having them down and trying just a few, whether it's at work, whether it's significant other, whether you're a parent, we're in conversation all day. So you're going to have a chance to practice this stuff. And then next week, we're going to start getting into another 4 week session, and it's all about conflict resolution. So, up until now, we've kept it on you, and we've kept it on you raising your self awareness, having some more emotional intelligence, giving you some real tools on how to communicate. But conflict happens all the time. And many times it's not because we invited or even escalated the conflict. The other person is bringing it, and we're going to talk about healthy habits for resolving conflict in relationships. I'm looking forward to that. Something I certainly have to work on some more, and I hope you'll tune in. So thanks for listening, and uh, and have fun with these. Fun might not be the right word, but it's worth it. It's something you can do to show care and love and communicate responsibly. Thanks, folks.